you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
What is integrity? You know, integrity doing the right thing when nobody's looking, all right? You know, are you a leader or a follower? I'm a leader. What's the difference? Think for myself, all right? Do you have confidence? Yeah, what's not?
What up, classmates? Welcome to Levin Hall Podcast, where we're two queens with two perspectives. This is your girl, Mimi.
Hey, and it's your girl, Mishi.
What you been up to?
You know, relaxing and resting.
Yes, definitely.
What about you?
Same, relaxing, working, trying to squeeze some workouts in when I can, and stay fit and active because, you know, the quarantine will have your weight ballooning up if you don't be careful out here. So
that's a fact.
Try not to get caught up in that hype. So yeah, just trying to stay active and work out. That's pretty much been my life, and yeah, that's what's been going on with me.
Okay. So let's get right into it. What is this lesson going to be about today?
The lesson today for you guys is on our girl Breonna Taylor.
Yes.
Say
her name,
Breonna Taylor. We definitely wanted to not go any further without acknowledging the very tragic and unfortunate circumstance that is the Breonna Taylor story. But we want to highlight a little bit of her life and, you know, her life prior to this incident before she became a hashtag, and to those who knew and loved her best. So
that actually is a perfect place to begin. Breonna Taylor, better known as Bree or Breezy, was a 26-year-old African-American woman born on June 5th in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Breonna Taylor had a big loving family, filled with aunts, uncles, and cousins. Her parents were Tamika Palmer and Troy Herod. She also had a sister named Janiyah Palmer. Breonna graduated from Western High School in 2011. She continued her education at the University of Kentucky. In 2016, she served as an award-winning EMT and first responder for Louisville Metro Emergency Medical Service. And most recently, she had worked for 2 hospitals as an ER technician. She planned on going back to nursing school in the fall.
Yeah, definitely. This was an essential worker that was out here in the pandemic working hard, you know. Definitely had big dreams and big goals to become a nurse. And yeah, just the fact that she was such a hard worker, holding down 2 jobs, not just one, you know.
And an EMT worker.
So you always walking into situations you don't know how the person is or what's going to come about of it. But she, you know, went in head first and, you know, wanted to always be someone willing and able to help others. So it's just unfortunate to see all the potential that this young lady had and like how far she would have gotten in her career and her life. I know she had aspirations to be a nurse, but also, you know, was looking forward to having kids and starting a family with her boyfriend Kenneth, who they actually met in high school. So they were like high school sweethearts and, you know, were very much in love.
I remember in an interview that her mother did, and she described her daughter as a type of person that had this get up and go type attitude. One example that I remember was Breonna loved cars at a very young age, and she was determined to get one. And when she was 17, she did. She loved Dodge Chargers, and she had just purchased the 2019 model in January. And her mother was talking about how her next goal was to purchase a home. Her mother just continued to go on, like stating like she did everything right. She always wanted to do anything that she could to help better herself, to be a better friend or a better daughter or a better girlfriend. Her mom was just in awe with her and Breonna just really wanted to take care and protect everyone that she came in contact with.
Yeah, like you said, her mom definitely said she was someone that had a lot of ambition, a lot of goals, and that she was a people person, that she loved more than anything to help people out and go above and beyond with helping others. So
it was very apparent that Breonna was a family-oriented individual.
Right.
Some of her aunts recalled that some of her favorite hobbies were playing card games, singing, cooking, and dancing. And she loved to smile. And every day I feel like I learn more and more about Breonna. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, did this sound like a criminal to you? Does that sound like someone that's
not
just,
at all,
a part of this alleged drug cartel? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Right. And that's a good point you bring up, that it's nothing bad you can even find out about her. And that's usually their alibi, is trying to paint the victim, as someone that was a criminal or somebody. And even if she jaywalked, or even if she did some, small little thing wrong in her life, they would have capitalized on that and used it as an opportunity to paint her in a negative light. But you couldn't even do that in this situation. I mean, you're so used to seeing like the bad images, the rough pictures of them and stuff that they love to pull out in these kind of circumstances, but they couldn't even find that with her. Every time you see her, she's smiling, she's laughing, she's a fun loving, say she loved to joke around and laugh. So this was the personality of the individual they took away from the world, someone loving, kind, always willing to help. And
this situation could have happened to one of us. This situation could have happened to one of our family members.
Right. It definitely could have happened to anybody. And I think that's what's the most terrible part about this situation, is that it wasn't like she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It wasn't like she was
on a bad side of town.
Or, like, not saying that any of those things deserving of anyone in those situations, but it's just like, the way you think to remain safe is to stay in your home or to keep a low profile or whatever. But it's just like, even in our bed sleep, you're somehow, some way, you trying to get sleep, and then somehow you end up, gone, and it's just unfortunate that happened the way that it did. But I don't understand, and I probably never will understand this. So for those who may have not been able to do any research yet on the case, or don't really know exactly what is all the hoopla about, explain to them exactly what occurred on that night.
Yeah, sure. So on March 12th, 2020, Judge Mary Shaw, she signed off on 5 warrants as a part of this large narcotic investigation. 3 of the warrants were for properties like in West Louisville, and detectives wrote that they were looking for like drugs, weapons, electronics, mail related to like illegal drug activity. The 4th warrant was for a house of Muhammad Ali, and the 5th warrant was for Breonna Taylor's apartment in South Louisville. Breonna was not a main suspect in this case, but her name was on the warrant because the detectives said that they witnessed the main suspect arrive at Taylor's apartment in January of this year to pick up a package. The warrant that specifically involves Breonna Taylor's apartment goes on to say that a U.S. postal inspector verified that the main suspect had been receiving packages at Taylor's apartment, and that it was not uncommon for drug traffickers to receive mail packages at different locations to avoid detection from law enforcement. The U.S. postal inspector in Louisville said that the police department didn't use the office to verify that the suspect was receiving packages at Taylor's home. Actually, the postal inspector even said a different agency had asked in January to look into whether Taylor's home had been receiving suspicious mail, but the office had concluded it wasn't. There was no package of interest going there, and that is the most important part of the case. So Friday, March 13th, around 12:30 in the morning, officers parked in front of Taylor's building and walked up to her door. A few miles away, another group of detectives and officers had executed a warrant at a different location, and that's where the police had found the main suspect and arrested him. So at 12:40 a.m., police officers began to bang on Breonna Taylor's door. Breonna and Kenneth had fallen asleep in bed while watching a movie. Mind you, this was Breonna's first day off after working like several consecutive 12-hour shifts at the hospital. But the detectives say that they continuously knocked on the door multiple times, and no one came to the door. But before I continue, I want to start using names of the police officers that were involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor. There were 3 cops. Their names are John Mattingly, Brent Hankinson, and Miles Cosgrove. Okay, so back to the detectives being at the front door of Breonna Taylor's home. The detectives say that they knocked on the door multiple times. Detective Mattingly said that they did not announce themselves. They did not identify themselves. They were in plain clothing. And they didn't have an intent to hit the door or break the door open. They wanted to give her plenty of time to come to the door. And when asked how much time did you give her to come to the door, he states 45 seconds to a minute. That just doesn't make sense to me. So Kenneth recalls like a loud bang at the door, and Breonna pops up out of her sleep. It scared her. It scared him too. And they were just like, what is that? And so they both jumped out of bed and like started getting dressed, and he grabbed his gun. At the same time, the detectives took like a battering ram against the door. And when Breonna and Kenneth started walking towards the door just came off the hinges. So he let off one shot. Still, he wasn't able to see who it was or anything like that. So this is also important because Mattingly, the police officer, he was the first officer that entered Breonna's home, and he let off 6 rounds. Kenneth said he started seeing shots flying, so he fell to the ground and he dropped his gun. Mattingly told the other police officers that he had been shot, and that was around 12:43. So this happened within like 3 minutes.
Yes.
All of this happened within 3 minutes. So after Mattingly tells the other officers that he had been shot, Miles Cosgrove fired shots from inside the apartment, while Brett Hankinson blindly fired 10 rounds outside of the apartment through the patio door. It was reported that approximately 25 bullets entered Breonna Taylor's home that evening. And when all the shots stopped, Kenny called 911. EMS arrived, but they took Detective Mattingly. They rushed him over to the University of Louisville Hospital, and no one rendered aid to Breonna Taylor. Despite Kenny yelling for help, for someone to help his fiance, but they continued to instruct him to come outside. Breonna Taylor was fatally shot that morning. She was struck by 8 bullets. 8 bullets entered her body, and so begins the cover-up. I mean, the story is just tragic.
Yeah. And I think the craziest part is all of that is just it's beyond me. The fact that the boyfriend gets arrested.
Oh.
He gets arrested for protecting his home because, you know what I'm saying? How you supposed to know that these were police officers and when they didn't announce themselves?
Right.
Or anything, you know,
right.
For us, he knows this is an intruder. He's confused.
He's confused, right?
He don't know what's going on. You waking me up in the middle of the night, trying to issue this warrant, quote unquote,
right?
That they already had the people they were looking for was already in custody.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. The police did arrest Kenneth that morning and charged him with attempted murder, and I found it very strange that the charges were dropped the day after the FBI said that they were going to open up an investigation into the shooting.
Right.
Nonetheless, I still want to shine or highlight who Kenneth is. Kenneth's dad did testify and stated that, you know, Kenneth went to high school, he graduated, he played 4 years of high school football. He went to college for 2 years, and he was just about to start a job at the post office. And anyone that has worked in a government agency position knows that you have to meet certain requirements,
right?
To be hired. There's an extensive background check. So the media or the narrative could not have been created that he was this type of thug or alleged drug dealer. Whatever narrative or story the media or these detectives tried to create could not be completed because these two individuals, Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker, were outstanding people. And let me go even further to say law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, they not letting you get in the working for the post office if you got anything on your record. So
can you speak to the events that happened when Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, arrived on the scene?
Her mom arrived on the scene, you know, trying to figure out what's going on with her daughter, and they're sitting there questioning her, questioning the mom, trying to find out if she had any enemies, if there was any rivals.
Wow.
Did her and Kenny have any problems going on? Anything to deflect from the fact that they were the ones responsible for this young lady's life being lost. And I just think that that's ridiculous that as a mom, you know, she knows her child. She knows she knows her moves. You know, they were close. She knew what she was doing. It wasn't as if she was some wild girl that, okay, maybe that was a possibility that this guy. No, it wasn't any chances. The couple was madly in love. There was no way he would do anything to harm her, to do anything to even think about harming his fiance.
Right.
And so just imagine as a mother, you know, not even being able, I don't even think she was able to get to her daughter. No, they had her going from hospital to hospital.
That's right.
Looking for her, trying to locate her daughter.
Right.
They didn't even tell her the proper place she was at.
Right. So thank the Lord that Kenny was able to contact Breonna's mother, Tamika, after he got off the phone with EMS, because then she immediately went to the apartment, and as she is on the service road, or the entrance road, the police officer stops her and tells her that there was 2 ambulances. One ambulance had the police officer, and the other ambulance had a girl that was hurt. So then Tamika rushes to the hospital. Well, she waits at the hospital for about 2 hours and then is told that there is no one that fits the description of the events that she's describing. So then Tamika returns back to the apartment complex, and she waits 2 hours before a detective comes and talks to her. Tamika recalls that the detective, informs her that officers were at her daughter's home to serve a narcotics warrant. Well, Tamika asked for the warrant.
Yeah.
And the detective says he doesn't know where it's at. It was not until 11 a.m. until Tamika was told that her daughter's body was still in the apartment. Tamika wanted to identify the body because Breonna and her sister lived in the apartment together. And Tamika knew that her other daughter was not in the home, but the investigator said that it would be up to the coroner to decide. And it was not until 1 p.m. that the coroner arrived to speak with Tamika, and some officials sneaked Breonna's body out of the apartment. That's
sick.
That's sick.
That a mother has to endure that much pain and suffering because you can't.
She's just trying to locate her.
Can't even give her a location.
You can't give her location.
You playing games. You know exactly where the girl was the whole time.
I don't know how long it takes for crime scenes, but just not to even have the decency to allow someone the information that their loved one has passed, and you're sending this person on a wild goose chase. Her mental state, I can only imagine what her mental state was. It's just disturbing. It's disturbing.
As I'm sitting here, like, recalling that, like, I never knew Breonna. It don't take all that. I didn't have to know her. You know, I know the story, and I'm a black woman. We all black women over here. So just the thought of a mother not only losing her child, being waking up in the middle of the night to the, to the thought of something happening to her child, whether they were alive or whatever, just that fear that mothers have of the worst case scenario of something occurring with their child in the middle of the night. And then to not, like you say, not be given the location, to just be sent on all these different runs or whatever, that is traumatizing. Like, how can one move on? How can one heal? How can one, I know with God all things are possible, but why do we have to go through such trauma as a people, if it was to occur in Beverly Hills, ain't no way in the world.
Ain't no way.
Somebody would be sitting there giving you all these runaround.
That's a fact.
Yeah, but if you go in our black and brown neighborhoods, they feel like they can just treat us any kind of way, even in death. You don't even get the decency or the respect. Your family doesn't even get the decency or respect to mourn you properly.
Right.
To grieve properly, all these things that others are given, and even in our death, we're not even allowed to do until it gets to national attention, some national spotlight put on your situation. Oh, now all of a sudden, things are starting to move along. Like Breonna Taylor, unfortunately, isn't the only Breonna Taylor.
That's true.
It happens a lot. It happens more often than it should in this country, around the world, and we are not taking it anymore, and it's unfortunate that it took another life to be lost for it to gain this attention and the spotlight that it needs to. But if it's going to bring about change, I think that's the best thing that can happen in this whole jacked up situation. But it's just literally, like, thinking about it, it's like literally a nightmare, a living nightmare that a mother has to even endure that. You have a beautiful daughter, you have hopes and dreams of doing all these things. Doing all these things with her in her life, walking her down the aisle, her having children, all these dreams and aspirations this girl had and was working towards, and in an instant, because somebody just was negligent and didn't do their part.
That's right.
It was taken away.
That's right. And let's talk about that. Yes. There's no doubt in my mind that the police were negligent because they put information on the warrant that was not factual. But who signs warrants? The judge has to sign a warrant. And the judge was negligent. This judge, her name was Mary Shaw, Judge Mary Shaw. She signed all of the warrants, 5 warrants within 12 minutes. How do you sign all of those warrants and you are telling me that you're doing your due diligence to make sure that the information is correct? The warrants that she signed, a no-knock warrant, those warrants have been debated by the Supreme Court because of how frequently they lead to false arrest and violence. And these warrants are meant to be approved with great scrutiny and only in dire circumstances. Because if you get it wrong, like this judge, you have now violated our Fourth Amendment right.
Right. And that's why, you know, when people stress the importance of voting,
yes,
this is how it plays out, because you got to get the right people in office that is going to do the work, that is going to make sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. You don't want to just have someone holding power and holding responsibility that's not in the best interest of the people of that community.
That's
you know,
right. That's
so
right.
People, you know, some people agree with voting, some don't. Some people disagree with voting, but I feel like it is important. It's an important right that we have, and it really just, you know, you see the effects of not voting in these kind of situations and not putting, you know, the right people in office. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know why the judge didn't do what she was supposed to do, or if this probably is in the first, you know, incident where she didn't, you know, do what she needed to do in regards to making sure everything's straight before they just sign a warrant, and, you know, go forward. You know, it's like, this isn't a video game. Right. This isn't play. Like, these are real human beings. They have families attached to them. They have loved ones attached to them. And the decisions that people make, you know, affects them for the remainder of their life. You know, it affects them, you know, until their dying day. The type of decisions that are being made on their behalf, and innocent lives and an innocent life had to be taken away that didn't need to be taken away just because of that carelessness that was done, you know? Right.
And I'm so glad you brought up voting, because I honestly feel like this judge, Mary Shaw, should be impeached by the Kentucky State House of Representatives, and the Senate must remove her from her office. Also, she does not face re-election until 2023. And the last time she ran, she had no opposition. I don't care what party you are, Democrat, Republican, I'm still going to be on the right side of what's right and wrong. And the fact is you were absolutely wrong.
So it just shows that it's not, it wasn't only the officers that made a bad decision in that moment. You know, it was a whole system that failed to, you know, do their due diligence and get the information correct, you know, get the proper suspects. Get the proper, you know, everything in line for them to, you know, if there was some issues going on and somebody needed to be arrested or whatever, that's fine. But you have to make sure you go about it the right way. You can't just put innocent people's lives in danger just because you want to be negligent and not carry through, you know, your proper due diligence in that situation. And that's unfortunate that it happened to be that way. But baby girl, it's like she probably really did, not probably, I'm sure she really did want to help people. And it's unfortunate that in her death, it's the way that it's coming about, you know. It's not like she got the opportunity to go to her fullest potential while she was here on this earth. She still had a lot of dreams and hopes and aspirations still left inside of her when they took her away. But it's like, even in her death, she's making an impact in so many lives.
That's right.
And unfortunately, that's a lot of times the case for a lot of these hashtags. You know, they go from being, you know, no name people know, you know, only people in their neighborhood or their family know about them, until being these worldwide figures and almost iconic individuals because of something tragic happened, you know, tragic happening in their lives like that. I think all they did was fire one of them so far.
And that's still not enough.
And I mean, that's nothing. They all need to be fired. They all need to be arrested. They all need to be charged, convicted. We got to see this thing through.
Right.
This is, you know, I know a lot of the hype has kind of calmed down, you know, and I feel like the pandemic occurred right when it needed to occur, because it gives people an opportunity to see the injustices and the wounds, for themselves. It may not have even made it this far nationally, the story.
Right.
I mean, it took a long time before it even garnered attention. It took, another major death happening to even bring this to the forefront. And, I feel like by it being a pandemic, that somewhat helped the situation, because people actually had the time and the attention to pay and to get out in the streets and march for her and to fight for her and tell her story, because the story needs to be told. They were trying to keep it under wraps.
Right.
The family was trying their best to, get some help, get some traction, about what happened to their daughter. This is tragic. It was unfortunate. Yeah. It didn't have to happen. It was unnecessary, and it was just a long line of, things that just did not go right, that end up occurring to even get to this point, know?
Yeah.
I'm not expecting every police officer to be a therapist or whatever, but what are you going to training for if all you taught is how to shoot?
Right.
I'm not thinking you a psychiatrist or you can handle every situation. They do have trained professionals for that.
That's right.
And they have them in the law enforcement department as well. But every situation doesn't have to end with somebody dying.
Right.
Every situation doesn't have to go that far. There's some things that can be talked through. There's some things that can be discussed and get to a resolution. And there are probably police officers out there that believe in that motto.
Right.
But for the ones who don't, it makes it look bad on the whole entire force. If that's how they're gonna handle situations. This girl did not have to lose her life.
Right.
She's out here really trying to make a difference. She's out here working. She's an EMT. All these things, like, just full of potential. Mm-hmm. And her boyfriend. I mean,
right.
They both young individuals trying to make it, trying to do, be positive. They weren't, like I keep saying, they weren't in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were in their home. Right. And they did not do, the judge didn't do her due diligence. So, of course, she needs to go.
For sure. And
all the officers.
For sure.
And then there needs to be laws in place to prevent this from happening to other individuals in the future. So the Breonna Taylor law was able to be passed, and basically that allowed an end to the no-knock warrants that was the reason that the reason she lost her life to begin with, that they utilized. So I think that's a great first step. It's so many more steps to justice and to accountability that has to take place. But I think that as long as we keep this momentum, long as we keep the fire under them, it's only a matter of time before, we really truly get justice on her behalf. And I think we owe it to her family, as a people who are really want to see this country uphold, values, these values that apply to some, but not to all. Like, right. We have to truly continue to fight, Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that so many years have passed and it seems like sometimes nothing really ever changed. Our senior citizens and our family and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they fought for things all the way back then, and we're still fighting for it now.
Right now, exactly.
It's like it's just a never-ending cycle. But I believe either in life you got to choose a stance. You have to believe in something or you fall for anything.
That's true.
And I'm so glad to see so many young people who are probably was never really interested in social justice issues, by the means of social media, garnering attention, and, celebrities bringing attention to the things. We have to utilize whatever resources and whatever means we can, to highlight these situations, because it seems like that's going to be the only way we're going to truly make progress. Is to get people involved, to keep the fire under the officials, the people that can make the decisions, to not let up.
Right.
When it's no longer a trending topic, to
that's
not let up. She's not a meme. She's not something that's trendy for the moment. This was an individual. This was a young lady. This was a friend, a girl, a fiance, a daughter. Right. I mean, she has multiple roles in various people's lives, and she impacted people's lives that knew and loved her in great ways. So
and save lives too.
And save lives. So it's not just for Breonna Taylor, but for the Sandra Bland's, of the world.
Yeah, I'm about to start
all the black women whose names never made it to the spotlight that unfortunately have lost their lives at the hands of police brutality and of a system that's not designed to protect us. It's not just the George Floyds we have to remember. It's not just the Ahmaud Arbery's, even though their cases are equally as important. But don't forget the black women either, because they're being killed too.
Right.
They're being killed, and they don't, and it didn't have to happen. It's unfortunate, but we have to keep going. I mean, I guess we really don't have no other option.
Right.
It's either this or we just sit back and take it.
Exactly.
But
we're tired of sitting back and taking it.
We're tired of sitting back and taking it, and our ancestors wouldn't even allow that.
That's right.
As powerful and as strong as they was to endure the things that they dealt with back in the day. Like, it's on us. We have so many more resources. We have so much more available to us in our hands, in our grasp. We are, have all this education. We have all these degrees. We have all these this and that. We got to start utilizing every weapon in the arsenal.
That's right.
To combat this systemic racism that plays out in so many facets of our society.
Right. Talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when people say, racism no longer exists or whatever, it's not true.
It's not.
Don't believe that. Don't believe it. Don't fall for the gimmick, because it is very much alive and it is well. Like I said, her situation probably would have never occurred in some of your more prestigious neighborhoods in this country.
That's a fact.
In Beverly Hills, it would never occurred. And if it did occur, you better believe those officers wouldn't still be on the force.
I couldn't even imagine this happening in River Oaks.
It would not.
Please.
It would never. And if they did, the officers, those officers would not be on the force. And they would probably already had the trial, and they already be under, in prison serving life or whatever the sentence may be. So it's just another wake up call. It's so sad that we keep having to have these type of wake up calls, but it is a wake up call that we still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we strong, y'all, but stop testing us. Stop testing us.
Yeah.
For real. Everyone around the world, keep calling the mayor's office. Keep calling the governor's office. I'm glad when I call and it's on, it's a busy signal. I can't get through.
Yeah.
We gonna disrupt everything, because there's really no justice, no peace. You can't sit and do your work while I'm sitting here fearing my life. You can't conduct your business as usual.
Hey, classmates. We just wanted to take a minute to highlight an exceptional young man.
Yes.
We call him our student of the week.
Yes, Dean's List. Made the Dean's List.
He made the Dean's List. There has been a ongoing issue in New York where a young lady by the name of Jennifer, who's actually a nurse and a single mother, has been receiving a lot of harassment and a lot of racist actions from her neighbors in a home that she purchased about 3 years ago. And a lot of the things they were doing to her, she reached out for help from her local city officials and was unsuccessful. So she took, garnered the attention of social media. I actually found out about the story on Twitter, and a young man by the name of Anthony, or Flo349 on Instagram.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. He has took the charge, along with several other black men have took the charge to say that if we can't count on our local police to protect her and her child from the actions of her neighbors, we're going to step up and do our part. And so this young man has been on security duty every night outside of her home.
Goes live and everything.
He goes live to ensure that he's protected from any kind of dangerous situation. With his camera, he's showing what's going on. But he's taking the time out of his schedule and his life to devote to helping this young lady who's been dealing with all these things. When your home is supposed to be your sanctuary, it's supposed to be a place where you feel the most safe, but she wasn't feeling that, unfortunately, at the hands of her neighbor. So we think it's an incredible gesture that he's been doing. He's been really embodying the term protect black women
in
the flesh. it's like the day and age where everyone just wants to do social media talk and they just want to do everything on the internet or whatever, but they don't want to actually do the things that they say, you know. It's like they don't put the action behind the fingers, the tweets and everything. And so like for him to actually take time out of his schedule to stay outside of her home, make sure her and her daughter are protected, it's very, very impressive. And it's something I really it just warms my heart to see.
Too.
Yeah.
Me too.
And he's so down to earth.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like he's just some, you know.
And he doesn't want he don't want you to buy him food.
Right.
He doesn't want no snacks.
And they have been loading him up with all kind of goodies.
Right. Like he's not asking for no donations. He's not asking for nothing. He just wants to protect Jennifer. And that in itself is just like, come on, King, like salute to you for sure. All the way from Texas, we see you. Right.
So just out the kindness of his heart, he's been doing this and he's still going, you know. It's been almost a month now.
Don't stop.
Right.
He's really doing God's work, y'all.
Right. So I definitely salute him and all his efforts and everyone that has jumped on board to help, you know, with the situation with Jennifer. So definitely show him some love. If you're on IG, hop on his live at nighttime when he's out there protecting him, and show him some love. Let him know you heard about him and you support what he's doing. And if there's somebody in your personal life that you don't have to be sitting outside their home, but if there's any like kind act or anything that you have in your power or your ability to do to help someone else, you know, these are times when a lot of people are going through things, you know.
We say it all the time.
People are losing their jobs with this pandemic. People are depressed. They are stressed out. It's so much going on. So if you have anything, just sit around and give it a thought for a moment and figure out what it is that I can do to help somebody else today, or what can I do to help somebody else this week. Don't live in a bubble.
Small, right.
Don't live in a bubble and think that everything is all about you. We have to protect each other. We have to love on one another. Yes. We've always had to do that, but now so more than ever, because, you know, you just never know. But we definitely salute Flo 349 or Anthony.
We salute you, King. Yes.
And, keep up the good work. And with that, we'll see you next time on Levin Hall Podcast.
Our deepest condolences go out to the entire Breonna Taylor family. You'll continue to be in our prayers, and God bless.